Today's program is The Time for Conscious Business is Now. Neale Donald Walsch is our special guest and is live with us. He's the perfect guest as we wrap up our webinars focusing on conscious business. Neale is the founder of Humanities Team and a powerful world leader and activist whose books and lectures call for a conscious world where we're living in the knowing we are all one with the divine, each other, and our earth home. Neale, do you want to come in real quick and say hi here?
Hi real quick.
Okay. Thanks so much, Neale. Great to have you with us. Thanks for being here with us. You're going to hear a lot more from Neale shortly. I'd like to bring in my partner and colleague at this point, John Thomas. He is the Humanities Team Director of Conscious Business. John, do you want to say hi real quick?
Yes, hi real quick too. So, John Thomas, it's great to be with you all again on one of these webinars. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. You'll hear lots more from John shortly. He's co-hosting this program with me. As we get started, I'd like to give background on why we're here. I'm going to share our what we call elevator story because this summarizes what we're up to. I'm going to share it now. You may want to close your eyes to just let this seep in.
You may want to explain to people why you call it the elevator story. Ladies and gentlemen, this is called the elevator speech, meaning it's short enough to share with somebody while you're on the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
A famous public relations person once told me that if you can't put your message into a short enough period of time that you can share it with somebody before they get off the elevator, your message is too long.
And that is a fact. That is a fact, Neale. This is and you can share this in an elevator. This is actually quite short, but it really puts all of what we're up to here together. So here it is. The current standard of business isn't working. It's not sustainable for life on Earth, and people are fed up. Businesses do not operate in silos. All of life is interconnected. Everything businesses do impacts people, the environment, and the world around them. While businesses are the biggest source of some of the world's most challenging problems, they also offer the greatest hope and potential to help solve these problems. Therein lies an amazing opportunity to break through and upend the status quo by adopting a new conscious business model that creates prosperity and flourishing for all. To do this, business must develop both the awareness and the skills to consciously evolve their organization. Humanities Team's Conscious Business Initiative helps change agents and leaders reinvent their organization using a structured methodology and community of practice that recognizes the interconnectedness of all of life. And we can do that in an elevator, can't we? That's pretty quick. So that's what we're up to here. We're going to talk a lot more about that. So let's kind of move on here. Next, very briefly, I'm going to tell you what we're doing with our partners to create global conscious businesses and a whole new income opportunity that's opening up for consultants, coaches, trainers, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and business change agents. You might want to listen carefully and then let us know later in the program if you have questions. Our first step in this Conscious Business Initiative was to come together with global partners to create a Conscious Business Declaration. We spent almost a year working together on this. Urban Laszlo with the Club of Budapest, based out of Europe. Hiro Sanji with the Goi Peace Foundation, based out of Japan. And Chris Laszlo with the Fowler Center for Business out of Case Western Reserve University, joined together with us in initiating the Conscious Business Declaration. You can read it at this web address that you see here on the webinar, consciousbusinessdeclaration.org. The first principle of the declaration is this: we are one with humanity and all of life. Business and all institutions of the human community are an integral part of a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. And just imagine global business standing squarely in this awareness that we are all one with humanity and all of life. I can't tell you how excited all of us in Humanities Team are about this because, of course, oneness is ultimate reality, and certainly it's time. I won't read more of the declaration, but there is much more, including financial, social, and ecology transparency provisions. A principle that says we must go beyond sustainability and do no harm. We must restore the earth. The declaration covers much more ground than this. Later today, when you have a moment, we invite you again to go back to this web address. Please read it, sign it, and become an ambassador for it. Suffice it to say that the declaration is revolutionary. Together with our partners, we are now reaching out to business leaders all over the world. Many have signed and are signing now. Neale Donald Walsch, our guest today, Ronaldo Brudico, Hazel Henderson, Jennifer McLean, Barbara Marks Hubbard, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden are only a few who have signed. I think you'll be astonished at the world of business leaders who will be signing this in coming weeks and months. This is the first wave, leaders joining hands and saying, this is the way business will work. The second wave is where you come in. We're going to need lots of certified conscious business agents, CCBAs, with the training, certification, and toolkits to help start and transform businesses. After people sign the declaration, we're asking business leaders to put someone on their team through training to transform their organization to a conscious business. If they don't have someone trained, we're inviting them to hire someone like you. We believe a certified conscious business agent marketplace will emerge to help businesses transform into conscious businesses. This is your opportunity to come to the front and lead, and we believe there is a substantial income opportunity for business trainers, consultants, coaches, entrepreneurs, and change agents. We'll only be offering 2 certified conscious business agent classes this year, one now and one in the fall. Our first course starts on Monday, May 2nd. That's this coming Monday. And because this is our inaugural course, we're offering it for $1,497, about $1,500. This is almost a 60% discount from the $3,500 regular price. Based on the research that we've done, $3,500 is a good value and $1,497 is almost a steal. Also, we're giving course members 3 free months of our community of practice, but we're holding the class to only 100 enrollments to ensure a high-quality interaction between faculty and students. We may fill the class and close out enrollments before Monday, May 2nd. Again, that's this coming Monday. So if you're interested, be sure to enroll. We don't want any of you to be unhappy with us. Also, there's a 2-week full money-back guarantee if you change your mind for some reason. Of course, change will not happen by signing the declaration or even just going through training. It'll happen when we put the principles of the declaration into action, when we radically transform the institution of business and help create a world that works for all. Best of all, you can participate in this as a change maker and make income in the process. This is what we're going to turn to next with our special guest, Neale Donald Walsch. John Thomas and I will be bringing questions to Neale together. Neale, I'm going to go first. Neale, it's such a pleasure again to have you with us today. The CWG books changed so many lives, including my own. I'm sure your Conversations with God books are familiar to many of our audience. They've been translated into 27 languages and sold tens of millions of copies around the world. Our topic for this webinar series has been conscious business, a topic that has also been discussed in your books. For example, CWG talks a lot about transparency, which is one of the 7 principles in the Conscious Business Declaration. Why is financial transparency and other forms of transparency an important principle for business today?
Thank you, Steve, very much for those very kind words. The transparency is the basis, not just of a business life, that is of a conscious business life, but of a conscious life altogether. The idea behind it, as given to us in the Conversations with God dialogue, is that we have nothing to hide. And it's only that we think we have something to hide, our thoughts, our ideas, our motivations, our plans, our secret maneuvers and so forth. It's only because we think we have something to hide, frankly, that the world is in the condition that it's in right now. That the economic condition of the world, as well as the social, religious, spiritual, and political condition of the world, and of course the military condition of the world as well. The reason that we're in the condition we're in right now is because we're simply not telling each other what's true for us. We're not revealing ourselves. We're not, listen, even in relationships, I mean in personal relationships with the person across the kitchen table, often we are not being transparent with each other. So I was told in Conversations with God, if you want your life to change overnight, and this would certainly be true in terms of conscious business, if you want the world's business experience, the world's economic experience to change overnight, it can be done overnight, literally, with one single strategic decision, the decision to simply be utterly and totally transparent. I think it's a daring thing to do because we've been holding secrets from each other for so long. When I used to give seminars and retreats on business opportunities years ago, on business applications of the Conversations with God material, I would invite people who came to those conferences to decide that when they left, they were going to be secret-free. We called it a secret-free environment. And I dared people to go back to their own businesses. We had business owners there and business managers and upper echelon people in the corporations there. And I invited them to go back to their desks and to reveal to everybody in the organization the salaries to the penny and the fringe benefit packages of everybody. Just create a document, put it on the internet, and let anybody in the company just type in a name, whoever they want to search for, and that person's salary, their fringe benefit package, the number of years they've been with the company, all their whole profile would be there. Why would we keep that secret? It would be amazing to you, Steve, to know, and John, how many executives refuse to do that. They said, no, we can't do that. We'd be violating people's privacy. But why should it be private how much we're making? Well, I can tell you why it is. Because if you know how much I'm making, then you will want to know why you're not making as much as I am, since you're doing the same job, especially if you happen to be a, excuse me, a certain gender. Then you're going to want to know, how come you're making $8,000 a year less than I am? How come you're making 76% of what I'm earning to do the exact same job? Just one idea, just one area. We can talk about many other areas as well. So what I want to share with you is, when everyone knows what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it, who we are and what we're up to, and when everyone knows everything about everything, suddenly we are secret-free, and the agendas of everyone become public, and we are totally aware of everything, including, by the way, and here's one fast, and by the way, a number of businesses did say yes to this idea. We suggested that we have two prices that the businesses that attended our conference go back home and put two price tags on every product or service they offer. Our cost, your price. Mm-hmm. And many of them actually did that. They went back and they put on their price tags, our cost to remodel. My most famous example was a company that did home remodeling. They remodeled kitchens, bathrooms, and houses in general. And he loved this idea. And he went back and he listed his entire cost for remodeling a particular bathroom. Of course, the costs changed from job to job. But he would do a cost estimate, and he would estimate what his costs were, and he would put that on his price tag. We estimate that our cost is going to be $6,545.13. That includes everything from the materials, the nails, the woodwork, all the materials, everything, the labor costs and everything. And we're going to charge you $14,563 or whatever it is. Our cost, your price. And we even had a model, cost times 3, that would allow the vendors, to say to their customers, look, this is our model. It's as simple as this. We take our cost, we multiply it times 3. We think that's a fair profit. If you don't think it's a fair profit, it's very fine. Don't do business with us. But every other remodeling company in San Diego was very upset with this guy. They were looking for their gas mask, taking gas, because they didn't want to tell everybody what it was costing them, and they were charging a lot more than cost times 3, by the way. So they were very upset, but it threw the remodeling business in San Diego up into upheaval virtually overnight, and it created a new model for doing business in that area of the country. So just to give you an example of what transparency can do. So yes, transparency is a foundational, spiritual, not necessarily a business strategy, a foundational spiritual tool that suggests that if we all came clean with everyone about everything, not just about our cost, but about everything, our agenda, our plans, no more a secret-free society, secret-free relationships, secret-free life. Do you think we have any secrets from God? I mean, if you imagine there is a God, do you think we have any secrets from God? So why have secrets from each other, since each other are individuations of divinity? So, Steve, I can't tell you how excited I am about hearing about this conscious business initiative. If we can convince businesses across the country, around the world, to do business transparently, we can throw the entire world, not just San Diego, into business upheaval in 24 hours. Dare you, double dare you, if there are any business owners out there right now, any business managers out there right now, dare you to become transparent within 24 hours. You could change the world literally overnight.
Yeah, oh man, beautiful, Neale. Thank you, and we will be modeling this, of course, transparency, including financial transparency, including salaries. We'll publish all of that from Humanity's team. So that's what this Conscious Business Declaration and the initiative is about, is bringing that financial transparency to business. Beautiful. Thank you. And John has the next question.
Yeah, thank you, Neale. And that underscores why it's such an important part of the declaration, the Conscious Business Declaration. So Neale, I was really very eager to ask you, the title of today's webinar, we named it, The Time for Conscious Business is Now. And of course, by conscious business, we mean businesses that are committed to putting the principles we talk about in the Conscious Business Declaration, to putting that into actual action, like you were just talking about, for like transparency. So in your view, why is conscious business so important now at this present time in humanity's evolution?
Because I think that, thank you for the question, John, because I think that it's observable. It's observably true that the world is now reaching a cusp. We've come to the edge. We can't go any further. We can't go a great deal further in our evolutionary process using the model that we've been using for these many years. That we can see that not only economically, but politically, socially, and spiritually, our old model is not working. In fact, John, I'll go further. It seems to me that none of the institutions that humanity has put into place in order to create a better life for all of us are in fact successful in doing that. The political institutions, the political mechanisms that we've put together all over this planet for many, many years and invested a lot of time, effort, and energy into over the past centuries is simply not working. Not only is it not producing a better life for all of us, actually it's producing exactly the opposite on a global basis. The economic systems that we put into place on this planet, hoping to create better opportunity and a larger experience, a more equal experience for all of us, an experience that benefits all of us, is producing exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. It's actually generating an experience that where 95% of the world's people are suffering at a level that we can't even, compared to the 5% of the world's people that hold and control 90% of the world's wealth and resources. So we have, everything's upside down. The same thing is true of our social systems. We put into place, with all good intentions, social systems that we had hoped would make life better for all of us, but those social systems are producing exactly the opposite result. Again, everything is upside down, and sadly, saddest of all perhaps, our spiritual mechanisms, the spiritual systems that we have put into place on this planet. We call them religions, belief systems, call them what you will. They were put into place with every good intention, imagining that these systems as well would create a better life for all of us on this planet. In fact, they have done exactly the opposite. More wars and more violence have been perpetrated on the human race in the name of God than for any other particular reason. When we look at all of the systems we've put into place, including the economic system, of course, and that is the foundation of our business enterprises around the world. When we look at the world at large, we see that none of the systems we have put into place have generated the outcomes for which we had hoped. And undergirding all of these is, of course, the financial system, the business system, because it is people in business enterprise that generate the forward movement of our humanity one way or another. So if business people, if those who are conducting the business of business are not conducting it in a way that is spiritually undergirded with clarity, with wisdom, with fairness, with understanding, and with transparency, we're not going to get very far in improving life on this planet, and we haven't. But you know what? It's understandable because we're a very young species. We can talk about this later if we want to, but we are a very young species, just now coming into our own. But if people who own and operate and manage businesses understood that they are at the levers of power, and surely they know this, they are at the levers of power in human society. This right now is where the leverage is. And so we're asking all of you to take particular note of this and to understand that as you change, the world can change.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
And
thank you. Thanks, Neale.
We are absolutely entering that evolutionary tornado here now with this initiative. Boy, if we, as we look at politics around the world, not just in the U.S., but the populist sentiment all over the world, we can see, when I mentioned earlier, people are fed up. We can really see that. It's
And they're not just fed up, but frightened.
Yeah.
People are not only fed up and not only angry, they're also nervous. There's more nervousness around the world right now than I've ever seen before in my lifetime, and I'm an old guy. People are just wondering what in the world is going on. Literally, what is going on in the world? What in the world is going on? And what would it take for us to stop this headlong rush into our own demise? What can turn this train around? And I promise you that doing business in a conscious way is at the head of the train. This is the engine that drives the experience of humanity. There's no question about that.
Amen. That is exactly how we see it. This is the lead car on the train, and because our income, our jobs, our economy all comes from business, and I think we'd all agree that business as a whole in the mainstream is, if that's the lead car, it's heading in the wrong direction, which is why conscious business is so necessary. Neale, let me come in with the first principle of the Conscious Business Declaration. Of course, it reads, "We are one with humanity and all of life. Business and all institutions of the human community are integral parts of a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent." With the Conscious Business Initiative, of course, we're aiming to bring oneness out of the closet in business. Do you think oneness is a relevant topic for business leaders today?
I think it's the only relevant topic. So long as we imagine ourselves to be living in a system of separation, where something is separated from something else, where human beings are separated from each other, where businesses are separated from each other, where cultures are separated from each other, where religions are separated from each other, where the planet itself is separated from the cosmos in a psychological sense. That's the major psychological / spiritual / social challenge and problem facing humanity today. The idea that somehow or another we are part of the whole but separate from it at the same time. So we see ourselves as individual units in a larger system of which we are a part, but we don't see that we are a connected part. We imagine that we are somehow separate elements. Most of us don't feel that way about our families. In most of the families in the world, we see ourselves as not only a part of a family, but deeply connected with our family members. We see ourselves, in a sense, as one with everyone who is in our family. All that's needed now is for us to redefine the term family, to allow it to be large enough to include every single human being on the planet. What would it require for us to do that? What would it take for us to imagine that all other human beings are part of the same family and that we are one with each other and one with everything, not just with each other in terms of human beings, but one with everything on the planet, that we are deeply not just connected, but integrated as part of an integrated whole. Conversations with God made it very clear to me in book 1. All things are one thing. There is only one thing, and all things are part of the one thing there is. Well, if we took that idea, if we took that notion and overlaid it operationally, not just conceptually, not just philosophically, but functionally, overlaid that on our lives, on the way we do business, the way we do society, the way we handle our spirituality, the way we handle our economics, the way we handle our politics, if we overlaid that on all of human experience, literally the world would change overnight, by the way, for the better. What would it take for us to do that? That becomes the question. I have no problem doing it in my family. I have no problem doing it even in certain elements of my larger community. But what is the missing element that would cause us to be able to do that with people at large all over the planet? There must be something we don't fully understand here. Something's stopping us. And nobody is standing up in the world and asking, what's stopping us from doing the next natural, obvious thing? There is something we don't understand here fully about life, the understanding of which would change everything. And I am so excited about this Conscious Business Initiative of Humanity's Team because I think we're right at the nub of it, right at the core of it, at the most important element of it. If we can help people to understand what it is we don't understand fully about life, the understanding of which would change everything, we have a chance to alter the world's trajectory in a very short period of time. And by the way, last thought, this is possible to do exponentially. This does not have to take centuries or even decades. This can happen within a matter of years. This can be done exponentially because evolution moves in an exponential process and progress, not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 progression, but a 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 progression. So once we get that snowball rolling downhill, we're going to be able to make this change faster than most people think. But it takes the person who says, you know, I want to be a leader in that movement. I want to be a leader in that undertaking. And by the way, leadership means this. A leader is not someone who says, follow me. A leader is someone who says, I'll go first.
Amen. That's who we have here with us today. I'm sure. Thank you, Neale. That was stunning.
Yeah, thank you, Neale. I'm really glad you brought in what is possible, the exponential pace of change that evolution uses, and we think we're at the start of this tornado that Steve mentioned. I wanted to, you know, when you brought up a minute ago, you made the comment that people are not just fed up, they're frightened and terrified. And I wanted to share that also within business culture itself, corporate culture, which many of us have experienced and know, there's a lot of fear. And you know, in your work and what you share, you reflect on how fear is what creates that is a big part of the barrier to our connection to all of life. So I wanted to ask you, how can business leaders and change agents, like folks listening on this call, face and deal with their fear in the face of the situation that they need in business?
John, by being clear why they're in business to begin with, fear goes away when we understand we have nothing to lose. But we can't imagine we have nothing to lose unless we understand why we're in business to begin with. If we think we're in business to make as much money as we can, we're going to absolutely fall into a category of those who imagine that they have a great deal to lose. But if we understand that business, like every other human enterprise, business, relationships, you know, whatever the enterprise might be, whatever the activity might be, when we understand why we're doing what we're doing, suddenly the idea that we have something to lose is taken off the table. We have nothing to lose by loving. We have nothing to lose by sharing. We have nothing to lose by moving forward with a system that allows us all to know that we are, in fact, all one, because we're clear why we're in business. Let's talk about, just for a second, why we're even alive. See, there are 4 fundamental questions that I believe people have failed to ask, much less answer. The 4 fundamental questions of life are these. And if you're in business, you might apply these questions to your business. I apply them to my personal life. The first question, who am I? Who am I? I mean, literally, what is my identity? The second question, where am I? What is this place I'm in? What is this environment in which I find myself? I call it the physical realm. The third question, why am I where I am? And the fourth question, what do I intend to do about that? Now, when I attend business conferences, I invite business people to look at those 4 questions in the context of their business model. Who are we? Where are we? Why are we where we are? And what do we intend to do about that? If the head of the corporation says, well, we are where we are in order to make as much money as we can for our stockholders and for our owners, and we need to get as much money. But you know what? Here's what's interesting, what I notice about business people. They don't think that way in the main. We imagine in our black hat attitude that business people think that way. In fact, they don't. When I talk, and the majority of them don't, when I talk to business people, the majority of them do not imagine themselves to be in business to make the most money they can. They really start out with the intention of two intentions. 2 intentions. One, to express themselves, something inside of them that wanted to get out there and express in order to experience who they are at the next highest level. Maybe some invention, some creativity, some service they can offer, some talent they want to share. That's why people get into business. And secondly, and it becomes after a while their primary objective, to offer something of great benefit. In fact, to put it in simple terms, to help other people. When you talk to people in business and you're in private with them, they will say to you, sometimes with just a little bit of a misty-eyed look on their face, they'll look at you and say, all I wanted to do was to offer something to other people that would bring them enough value that I could experience myself, and all who work for me could experience themselves at the highest and grandest level. It's about self-expression, self-caring, and self-awareness, rising to the level of all of us experiencing and benefit from that encounter. That's why people get into business. One person out of 1,000 will tell you, I'm in the business to make the most money I can. Nobody thinks that way. We think they do, but they don't. But we have not found a way to tap that particular energy. When we go to business conferences, nobody talks like this. When we go to business meetings, nobody talks like this. Nobody stands up at a board meeting and talks like this. If we did, we'd have everybody at the boardroom table saying, wiping their eyes, saying, somebody finally gets what we're doing here. But here's the problem. If people don't get what you're doing here, whose fault is that? Maybe you need to change your own projection, your own message, and your own concept. Maybe you need to start doing business consciously. That's what this program is all about, to awaken you to yourselves.
Thanks, Neale. It's perfect, and it's very much what we're trying to do is change the dialogue in business, and beginning with that fundamental question. It's the first principle of the Declaration, recognizing our interconnection, like Steve was talking about.
You know, people are wonderful. I got to tell you, my experience of people everywhere is that people are wonderful. I've sat down with the heads of major corporations in this country, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. And the managers that are operating, and the division people, and the employees, I find that people are simply wonderful. Our job is to create a space within which business can reveal its wonderfulness.
Well, let me go straight into that. You touched on this earlier, Neale, but in your books, as in many spiritual traditions for millennia and in all cultures, love shines through as a fundamental essence of the divine. That is, of course, so true in your Conversations with God books. Is love relevant to business, and how can we create conscious business on Earth at this time?
By understanding who we really are. So if we think that we are mammals, biological entities, if we think, the first question I ask people when I talk to them privately, when I talk to business owners, business managers, when I'm in New York City or Chicago or LA or Moscow or Tokyo, and I've been to all the capital cities of the world, and when I sit down with business people who are driving the engine of the experience of those countries and of our planet, the first question I ask them is, who are you? Who do you imagine yourself to be? Do you understand yourself to be a chemical creature? That is a biological entity, no different from a dolphin or a whale or a worm or an ant or just a different life form, perhaps the most sophisticated, that's arguable, but perhaps the most sophisticated biological entity, biological life form on the planet, but a life form nonetheless. Is that who you imagine you are? You live, you breathe, you die, and that's the end of it? Or is it a thought that you have? Is there an idea you have somewhere or another that you may be a little bit more than that, that maybe you are not just your body, not just your mind. Maybe your body and your mind is something that you have, but it is not you that's having it. That the you that has a mind and a body is, dare we say it in a business program like this, is perhaps a spiritual entity, something larger than just the body and the mind. If that's true, if you imagine that you're more than just a biological entity, you live, you breathe, you die, and it's the end of it, like a tree, like an elephant, I mean, you know, whatever. But you imagine that you are a higher form of life than that, a spiritual entity, then you needs must ask the next logical question. Of course, if you don't believe that, if you think, yeah, that's all I am is a body and a mind, that's it, I'm a mind and a body, that's all there is. When I die, I die. It might change your outlook about why you're living your life. But if you imagine that there's something more to you than just your body and your mind, you then needs must ask the next logical question. Why am I here? Why would that which is more than this be here? What is the ultimate agenda? And how can I integrate that ultimate agenda into my own daily activity and into my business? When my business is a reflection of my ultimate agenda, and when my business is a reflection of life's ultimate agenda, then I will have done business consciously, and there is no greater formula for success of which I am aware. It's changed my life dramatically, and it's changed the lives of those who have decided to do business from that particular place. So we have to begin to shift the agenda, shift the purpose, shift the foundational understanding of why a person would do business in any event. What is the business of being human really about? Why are we here? And that's what the Conscious Business Initiative, as I've observed it, is all about. So yes, yeah, when we bring in those values that have very little to do with profit in terms of just profit, when we redefine what is profitable, what is beneficial, what is true profit, in order for us to understand what is true profit, all we have to do is listen to the profit.
Okay, awesome. Let me just bring in a couple of quick things here. There's a comment that came in from a listener. Please, if you're, for those of you listening, bring your comments and questions to our webinar. We've got a whole section here in a little bit we're going to get to where we're going to be bringing in your comments and questions. A comment here now I'll share. This is not a question, but something worth sharing at the end perhaps. I cannot fully express how ready I feel to start this work of transforming businesses into truly humane containers for the new kind of humans to contribute their authentic gifts. That's a comment that was shared from one of the listeners. Thank you for that. Again, we're going to get to lots more here in a little bit. Neale, in just a minute, we're going to go to questions between John and I back and forth. But before we do that, we've got over 3,500 people registered here for webinars, and this Conscious Business Initiative that we're here talking about, which is the declaration, it's the curriculum, the community of practice, this whole end-to-end thing, container that's been put together to transform businesses, to give people a toolkit so they can transform existing businesses to conscious businesses. What's your call to action to all of us who have registered for this webinar? What are things you'd like people to consider here?
Where am I going? Who's going with me? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And what is stopping me from living my highest vision? I would like people to consider what is stopping me from living my highest vision. Where am I going? Who's going with me? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And what is stopping me? And I would like, my call to action would be, let nothing stop you. Because, and let me reframe this just a bit. If you think that this call to action has to do with all the businesses of the world, and for that matter, in more broadly, all the people of the world, then I'm afraid you may have missed the larger point. It may affect all the people of the world, all the businesses of the world, but it has to do with only you. When you fulfill the highest agenda that you can feel deeply inside of you, the agenda to which you feel yourself being called, the result, the outfall, the outcomes that generates can indeed touch the world entire, but that's not the reason to do it. I don't write the books that I write. I don't give the talks that I give. I don't offer the seminars and the workshops that I offer in order to affect other people. Every act is an act of self-definition. Everything that I do in my life is an opportunity for me to express myself, an opportunity for me to recreate myself anew in the next grandest version of the greatest vision I ever held about who I am. I'm inviting you then, the call to action here is to make this a personal experience. You're going to be discouraged if you think that what you're trying to do is change the world. But if you're clear that what you're doing is recreating yourself in the next grandest version of the greatest idea you ever held about who you are, that's accomplishable. And that's accomplishable in the very next moment of your life, and onward and upward from there. And to the degree that that touches the world of business, if that's the world in which you choose to become engaged, or any other aspect of your life, to that degree, you will be a world changer as well. But that isn't the objective. The intention is to become a new you. That's what God has invited from each of us. And even those of us who may not believe in God, may not think of a higher power, can attach itself to the same grand notion, to be better tomorrow than we were today. To be or not to be, as my friend Bill would say, that is the question. And by the way, Bill also said this: there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Amen,
So
and
consider,
amen.
so consider the possibility that you're here on the earth for larger reasons than you might ever have imagined, having very little to do with what you have thought that life was really all about, and having everything to do with who you are, so that at the end of the day you put your head on the pillow and you say to yourself, now that's who I am.
Love it, and that's the invitation to all of us. John, I want to actually. I hope we're not all. System, I'm hearing an echo. Can you hear an echo? Or is it just me that's doing it?
We have a bit of an echo.
Okay, we've got an echo. Got some real strong.
Steve, lower your external volume.
Let's see. You still have echo? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Garth, if you can check with our vendor on getting some support on this, be great.
Steve, call into the line.
All righty, I'll do that. Let me go ahead and ask a quick question. It looks like it might be cleared up now.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I think we're okay. John, I wanted to segue over from what Neale just talked about, because you share that you, of course, were a director at Intel. You've got kids in college. It was not the time to retire, but you felt this calling to bring your values and your professional work together, and you left, and you joined Humanity's team. It's exactly what Neale was talking about. Can you bring in your personal experience?
Yeah, thank you, Steve, and thank you, Neale. What you just ended on was really touched me personally and resonated. But that's what I've experienced in my life, and I was really, I think, lucky to my experience at Intel. I had an opportunity to sort of have my own initiation into conscious business with some amazing people, and I discovered that you can be in a large corporation where I thought, frankly, when I got tapped, in my soul to really shift my career into one of the highest purpose or highest service, do the greatest good for life on earth, I thought I'd have to leave that corporate world to do it, and I discovered that right there, everything opened up. Once that intention formed, I had opportunities to work with some amazingly gifted people to bring technology from Intel to bear to help solve some of the world's greatest problems around energy, water, and other issues. And also had an opportunity to work with some very gifted, deep people to launch a mindfulness program that is still ongoing. In fact, it's now the Awaken Intel program is being taught at all the Intel locations. So no matter where you are, you don't necessarily have to, if you're in a big business, leave a big business to do that work. But at some point I did find I was inspired to take an early retirement from Intel, because I felt that my greatest calling right now to express my deepest inner truth, like Neale was just talking about, was to help launch this conscious business movement, because, and I feel at the core of my being and in my bones that this is the evolutionary imperative. This is so up right now, and the timing is perfect. So I made that choice because I felt it's really, for me, that's how love was moving me. That felt like the greatest expression of my truth and my love was to do this kind of work. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, John. And we wouldn't be where we are here today without you, of course, would we? So
Exactly. I don't want to.
That was Neale's invitation to all of us. Be the grandest version of the greatest vision you've ever had about yourself, which is the beautiful message of Conversations with God. John, let me just, for people that aren't familiar with the curriculum, we're training these conscious business change agents. Can you just talk a little bit about the curriculum and the faculty, because this whole university experience, this certification program, starts this coming Monday, May 2nd. So can you just share a little bit about the program?
Yes, I'd be happy to. And I know there's a lot of this is online and at the Humanities Team Conscious Business Institute pages. And maybe Garth, if you put that link in people's windows, and Brandon, if you could bring up that section of the website. First of all, like what I meant, I just spoke about my transition to do this work, and I've just been so satisfied and such a privilege to work with the folks, Steve and the whole team at Humanities Team, and the amazing community of business people and spiritual leaders that we've reached out to over the course of about a year and a half. The creation of the Declaration and this training program has been happening. So the training program is inspired by the principles of the Declaration. In fact, the curriculum is all about taking those powerful 7 principles of the Declaration and putting them into action. And it's also informed by the integral model as applied to business. Ken Wilber talked about that last week in one of the webinars. And Ken Wilber, who is the godfather of that integral model, will be teaching teach a class of like 3 sessions to set the stage for this. So it's really, we're very excited. We think there's nothing quite like this in our view. To do a whole training program based on a declaration that's grounded in this core principle of oneness, but to translate that into a specific kind of proven methodologies is what we're doing. And so it's all about preparing conscious business change agents to give them the inspiration, skills, tools needed to do this kind of work in business. And in addition to the training, there's like the third leg of the stool, so to speak. So there's the declaration, there's the training, but when students graduate from the training, we're also offering 3 months free membership in this community of practice, which hopefully we have a chance to talk about later. But the goal of that is then to become certified conscious business agents, CCBAs. And the curriculum is pretty amazing. If you see that online, it's broken into these various sections. First is about getting the vision and having the inspiration to really redirect our whole business career in this new direction. Ken Wilber will be teaching about the integral model, as I mentioned. Alan Watkins, who also was on one of the webinars last week, will talk about how you can effectively take that integral model and work with businesses to change. By the way, all these webinar replays I mentioned can be replayed online. In this front section, Chris Laszlo, who's from the Fowler Center at Case Western Reserve University, and who worked with us closely on the Declaration, will share all these untold stories and amazing possibilities for flourishing in business around these principles. And after vision and inspiration, in the curriculum, you'll see the next section is the longest section. We go into the specific skills and practices that can take that vision and put it into action. Ronaldo Brutico, who many of you who tuned in Friday webinar, and you can replay that webinar, powerful talk about how business can become an agent for helping turn around the environmental situation we're in. So Ronaldo on the environment. Barbara Marks Harvard will talk about business in the wheel of co-creation. Peter Matthews, who leads Conscious Business Institute, will talk about how you can transform as leaders, how you deal with conflict and pressure. Matthew Levine will teach about financial transparency, this topic we started with on today's, with Neale a little bit ago. Oziyama Egwanwu is a master at how you can make business a catalyst in community for community work, and she's going to offer a great class on that. My friend, former colleague from Intel, Lindsay Van Drill, is going to teach about how you can implement mindfulness programs in large corporations, and she'll share her secrets, her tricks of the trade with the Awake at Intel program. Hank Queen, who some of you have heard speak in past Humanities Team programs, a former Boeing executive, is going to teach about mindful engagement. How do you create structures and programs to engage leaders with the rank and file and transform business? And Ilma Barros Pose, who's a master and leader in both theory U and appreciative inquiry is going to teach a class that goes into those two things. The last section of the training, when we do all of this, in the end, you can have these great skills and a great vision. We also have to be fortified ourselves to have the skills, inner skills and practical skills to either launch our consulting business or go into our businesses and change transform them. Lance Secretan, who gave a powerful webinar last week, is going to share how to transform, reinvent leadership, change the whole game with leadership based in inspiration and a different approach to leading. Then we're going to have 3 modules. Students can take 1, 2, or all 3 of these. A module for coach and consultants led by George Cao. How do you create a successful coach consulting business or conscious business and do it in a way that's, right livelihood, do it with integrity and authenticity. Steve, who you're meeting on this call, successful entrepreneur from the Silicon Valley, is going to teach a class on entrepreneurship, and I will be teaching a class on intrapreneurship. How do you successfully navigate a large business or a corporation to make change happen? And we're going to end with a class that I'll be teaching with a friend and colleague that I met at Intel, who is also retired from Intel and working with humanities team, Kwa Veda. Kwa and I will teach the last class of the program. It's about launching the community of practice, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about that, but that's where we believe this all leads to. It's creating a community where we continue to work together and nurture each other and get deeper levels of mastery. We'll also, during this training curriculum, spread out throughout the training, there are 8 different Friday sessions that are where we get a taste of community. We start creating community right in the training where students can interact with each other and start forming the intentions for this whole community. And again, we're offering free 3 months and for the students to join that community. There's a lot more I could say, but if you look at the website, there's a lot of details there on the curriculums in each class. So
okay, awesome. John, one of the things, as you were talking, one of the things you covered and that I also framed is this whole Certified Conscious Business Agent designation, CCBA. Can we talk just a little more about that? Do people get that just by going through the program, or is more involved, this designation, Certified Conscious Business Agent?
Yeah, no, happy.
I want to just share with you briefly that I'm scheduled to be here till at the top of the hour, so according to my schedule. So if you had any more for me, I don't want to interrupt you guys, but if you had any more for me, now would be the time, because I'm out of here in 6 minutes, according to my schedule.
Awesome. Thank you, Neale. Let's see here. We're going to get
maybe a suggestion, Neale. If we're going to, if you've got to go here shortly, maybe we just pause this question, Steve, and see if are there any questions that have come in that we can direct to Neale before he has to go. Yeah, we'll be taking questions at the end, of course, but let's do that now with Neale.
Yeah, let's do that. So Brandon and Garth, we probably have lots of questions. Can you look through them and just maybe pick out 1 or 2? We've got 5 minutes here before Neale has to leave.
Okay, so here's the first question coming in from Blake, who is a co-founder of MindBody Inc. And he says, I agree with the philosophy of your mission 100%. At the same time, I imagine execs and C-levels may brush aside this kind of effort as a frou-frou, new agey, and not applicable to them and their business. So how do we bridge that gap?
I think we start asking the right questions. I think we go to business conferences. I think we offer opportunities in many ways, in writing and reports and presentations. I think one of the first things we do is sit down and actually invite ourselves, if we can, to talk to business leaders around the world, to invite ourselves to sit down with them at their board meetings, at their management conferences, and so forth, and ask them if we might come in and just maybe share a half hour with them, or 45 minutes at their next major conference or or board meeting. Very few people will say, no, they may not be able to fit you in at the next one, but the one down the line. We invite ourselves to those places, and we begin to talk to people one-on-one, and then we let them, and we start off by saying, we know this might sound a bit frou-frou, to use your phrase. This might sound a little bit airy-fairy, like we're walking around with air in our tennis shoes, but really it's a very grounded concept and a very grounded understanding. And then we place before them at that table the fundamental questions of life. Why are you doing business anyway? And is there a way to combine profitability with the highest level of benefit for all concerned, including, of course, obviously those that you are serving, your client and customer base? I don't think that there have been a lot, I mean, in the past 10 years, perhaps more than before, but there's not been enough conversation about that. And you know, my experience has been, my friend, asking this question, that when you bring those questions to people, they don't consider it frou-frou. They don't consider it airy-fairy. They really are glad that somebody finally came forth and put the discussion on the table. That's been my experience. Nobody walks out of the room thinking, what an airy-fairy guy. What people walk out of the room thinking is, you know what, we need to have more conversations just like this.
Yeah, let me just add to that too. My experience in Silicon Valley, where I was running my first company, where we moved from a focus on profit to the 4 Ps, presence, people, planet, and profit. Our business results exploded. That was the irony, and if you were on the webinars last week, I talked a little bit about this, but it's ironic. I was afraid when I threw out my day planner and really decided to focus more on heart-based communication and connection with staff, with my customers, etc., that my business was going to tank. And if you think about it, of course your business is going to just take off. Where you bring real authenticity and truth and real connection and heart language to your employees, to your clients, to your stakeholder community, to your community, your business is just going to soar. And we went from $0 in 1990, me and my partner in a little executive suite, 2 of us, to a $75 million company 9 years later, and we didn't have any financial backing at all. But you know, maybe an organization people have heard of, because you probably haven't heard of the one I was running, is Tesla. And look at what Tesla has done to automakers. They've put the heat on General Motors, Ford, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, etc. There's, if you follow the stock price and revenues of these other companies, they're all under stress right now. Why? Because a conscious business is entered, and people are voting with their dollars and buying their cars and buying their stock. You know, not just their automobiles, but the battery unit for homes. So this isn't airy-fairy at all. This is I don't think we focus on this because we want to increase our revenue and profit. We focus on it because this is the grandest version of the greatest vision that we've ever had about ourselves. But the irony is when we do that, all of the rewards come home as well.
Yeah. I want to close.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I know your time is limited, so do you have anything?
I was simply going to offer this. We have a plaque that we give to people when we recognize that they're in a particular position with regard to all of this. And the plaque says, I'll use it for John, for instance. Maybe we'll send one to John. It says, "Dear John, thank you. Thank you. You are one of the courageous ones, someone who's chosen to make a life rather than a living."
Yeah,
when we choose to make a life rather than a living, here's what happens. You know, somebody years ago said this much more eloquently than I will ever say it. Said he, "Seek ye first the highest kingdom, and all these other things will be added unto you." So I invite you all out there to imagine that we are here for larger reasons than simply earning a living. We are here to create a life, the life of which we've always dreamed, and a life that will touch others in ways we couldn't even begin to imagine.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you for that, Neale. Thank you. And
sorry that my schedule requires me to leave. I was scheduled until the top of the hour, so I have other things following this, but I'm really wonderfully happy to have had the opportunity to share these moments with you. And I hope everyone will stay right here till the next 30 minutes, because more important stuff is coming up right now. So stay here with John and Steve and let them share with you more of this wondrous information about the Conscious Business Initiative. Thank you guys both very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Neale.
you.
Thanks for joining
Thanks,
us.
Neale. Yeah. And I know we have this other question, but I think the question, I don't know if it was Blaine or Blake that asked, is such a critical one. I wanted to just add to what Neale said and Steve. You know, when I started doing what we now call conscious business work still at Intel, it's amazing things can be accomplished, but of course we have to meet the culture we're operating in. So we have to find the language and the way to articulate transformation concepts in a way that it's acceptable in that culture. And when we wrote the Conscious Business Declaration, the reason that took so long is we kept that, we do mention oneness. This is a scientific fact of our times, that we are all interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. So we do speak about oneness, but we don't bring any kind of spiritual ideology into that declaration, and we deal with this in the training as well. I would also suggest those that really want to hear a beautiful expression of this, listen to some of the replays from last week. I think particularly Alan Watkins, who talks about how he goes into some of the most deeply entrenched executives who are really kind of in the old paradigm of thinking, and finds a way to connect with them and challenge their thinking and get them to embrace change. So that's what this is about. It's not about carting our ideology or belief system into business, but coming from these principles in a way that matches that culture. So I just wanted to share that. I don't know, Steve, was there anything else on that?
Thank you, John.
point?
Let's turn to a few other questions. We'll do just a few here between John and me, and then we're going to turn to your list, to your questions. So be sure to put them in the window, things that you want John and I to get to during this program. So John, let's just, maybe there are several things we can kind of put together. There's this Certified Conscious Business Agent designation, and there's a community of practice. You talked about that a little earlier. There were some announcements we wanted to make about the community of practice. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, let me cover both of those topics. And we, through this Conscious Business Initiative and the programs we're offering right now 2 levels of certification. And we plan other forms of levels of mastery and certification in the future. Certifications are important because that conveys to businesses that you have a certain body of knowledge or expertise. The first level is for students who complete the 3-month training program, which we're set to start next week. They're just completing and going through some of the requirements of that course. By the key requirements of that course, you'll get a certification of completion at the end. That's like a foundation level acknowledgement that you have those skills. Then for those who are moved to really want to launch their career as a conscious business change agent or do that work inside of a company and want that designation, people that graduate and the change agents will go into this community of practice where they have an opportunity to complete a project that is peer reviewed, and then get, when that's successfully completed, get awarded the what we're calling the Certified Conscious Business Agent or CCBA certification. This is, again, and that certification is for people that really want to do this work. And so that we talked a little bit about the community of practice, and wanted to share more about that because, really, in many ways, we view this kind of training as no matter how complete or powerful the training we can accomplish and the certification, this is an ongoing journey. And our vision of this is that this is what's so needed at this time. It's not enough to go get trained and then go off on your own and do this work, but to come back to a community where we support, we inspire each other, and continue to develop ourselves and the businesses where we work. So, And this model, I want to say, this is a model that business really gets. If you think about how business evolves, you know, the declaration, the training program, and these certifications are matched sort of like business, how business culture operates. Now, if you look at big changes, when business evolves, big changes happens when you establish a standard that defines the new way of doing business. And the Conscious Business Declaration, we literally call it, you know, a new standard for business in the 21st century. So it's a standard. The training program, any kind of standard, you need to convey best practices and skills. That's what the training program does. And then you need certifications, because businesses want to know, well, who's out there that's skilled in these particular disciplines that can come in and help me adopt the declaration in my business. So that's what the community practice is all about. There are four specific forums where members of the community get to share knowledge, form partnerships, participate in exclusive trainings that we'll be doing. And these four forums you can read about on the website. In the interest of time, I just say that, that they cover the whole gamut of things we address in the training. And so the other thing, you know, Steve, you mentioned there's some things we wanted to announce that we haven't really covered in the last webinars. As we're so keen on this, we think this community of practice that follows the training is such a foundational part of where I think it's an epic change for where we are in business today. So we're adding this feature where once you join that community, you have access to replays for all the training that we are for the 3-month training program, but all the content that has been the many interviews we've done with business leaders, the new bottom line for business panels we've been doing at Global Oneness Day, so this whole rich amount of content we're putting in that community, and any future training. So if once you've done the 3-month training, say like in the spring, and you're in this community of practice, well, when we do the fall training, you know, the replays from that new training courses and such are going to be, this container of the community will hold all of that. We've also made a decision. We are really honoring the people that come forward now and join this training class and join the community. Is, you know, we think of it as kind of an epic moment. You know, we are really founding something that we believe is game-changing, will be game-changing in business culture. And so we really are encouraging this community to form. And we're offering the students that will graduate from the training, get the first 3 months of membership, but to also, we're going to offer, and this is going to be a one-time thing, is a 50% discount on the annual membership to stay in the community. So I don't know, Steve, those are the ones that come to mind. I have abbreviated quite a few things around the forums and so forth, but was anything else you think we should cover on this?
Thank you. That was terrific. Thank you, John. So the community of practice, you said, will be $100 a month. We're giving it for free for 3 months, and it's going to be discounted for this enrollment period in 2016 down to $49 a month after you get through the 3 free months.
Yeah, and this is our way of really calling it, creating the foundation for the community. So that's the plan.
Right. Awesome. Well, of course, the community of practice is such a key element here in this Conscious Business Initiative, because even with certification, when people are out there transforming businesses, there are going to be all kinds of questions that will come at them, and to be connected to this wisdom source, the community, and not to mention just the friends and the kindred spirits and emotional support will be huge. John, let me get to just one other thing here. Our learning management system can handle 200 people, but you said, no, we're going to keep this to 100 people because of the faculty to student aspect. We want to make sure there's rich interaction. So, and we're, I think, past the 50% 100% point here on enrollment. The program starts on Monday. Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so we were very, became very clear to me, and I think we all agreed that interactivity is huge and important part of this. So the interactivity between the students and the teachers or instructors in the program, and also interactivity between the students, and that's where we have these Friday sessions that are going to be focused on that. So really, we think that's just one more of the many reasons why this first inaugural launch of the training maybe, I think, have some very, very special features. That's being one of them.
So if you're thinking about enrolling, if you feel called to it, and maybe that's what people can do after this webinar, is just sit with it and to see, to go within, and am I being called to go through this training or not? And if you are called to it, you might want to enroll, because there is a 2-week period where you can get 100% of your money back. And if we do fill the class, you're not going to want to be in that situation where you try and enroll maybe, say, Sunday night and it's full. I'm going to just mention, John, as you know, working with our partners, the Club of Budapest, the Goy Peace Foundation, and the Fowler Center for Business, we did decide that we'll be creating a company-level certification process. That's something that is a statement of direction right now. Anything brief you want to say about that before we shift over to other questions?
Yeah, no, that's one that comes up. So we know today, if you're an executive, for example, you can go to the sign the Conscious Business Declaration and also sign on your organization as an organization of business that endorses the declaration. But we have business leaders, executives saying, well, I want to certify my company, as more than endorsement. How can we certify our company? And that is a very deep topic. And we, along with the creators of the Conscious Business Declaration you mentioned, Steve, are thinking through that process. We do think it's important, and we plan to involve executives and agencies that have a lot of expertise in measurement and metrics of success to have a truly robust certification for a company. And we also view it's, what's going to serve this evolution of business best is not a one-time stamp of approval that says I'm a conscious business, because this is a massive evolutionary journey for most businesses, and there are many dimensions to the Conscious Business Declaration. You can be, you can be a star in the area of environment, but be way behind in other areas like community or financial transparency. So we view this as there'll be levels of certification for companies. A lot of details still to be worked out on that, but that we think we have a sense of what will serve best. And for right now, we invite business leaders into dialogue with us about that certification process. We'd love to speak with business leaders. We also don't have the details ready to disclose right now, but in the fall we expect to announce a Conscious Business Initiative consulting practice that will work with these leaders who want to be certified to, figure out, get an assessment of where they are, develop a plan or a roadmap of how to actually transform their business in alignment with the declaration, and then link them up with certified conscious business agents who are able to help them do that work. So that's where we're heading towards. But for today, we invite dialogue with any business leader, executive that wants to give us your thoughts on this, because we're actively incubating this idea right now. And if so, you can reach out to me at john.thomas@humanitiesteam.org on email, and we'd love to have that conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, John. And of course, we are this whole declaration was created with these partners, and by design, global partners, the Goi Peace Foundation in Japan, the Club of Budapest based in Europe, and the Fowler Center for Business here in the U.S. So that truly we can have a global standard for global business. Yes, this statement of direction that we have, where we will certify companies, we do intend for that to be a global standard, which is important for business because many businesses aren't just located here in the U.S. Okay, John, let's just turn to, we had questions for me. There's probably time to take one, and then let's make sure we get to listener questions before we wrap up.
Yeah. Oh, Steve, there's it's always so many things that I'm hoping you'll bring out and share. So there's so many questions I could ask you. You know, I think let's start with, you know, share a bit of your experience in Silicon Valley as a CEO and entrepreneur who launched a couple successful ventures, and you talked a little bit about this some of the last webinars, but you know, I think coming from that experience, what would you say to people who think we're just dreaming, or that this is going to be too woo-woo for business? You know, what would you say to people that have those doubts about the timing and nature of what we're doing here?
Yeah, gosh, well, you know, first, as we all follow the media, we can see, again, this populist sentiment, this fear, as we were talking earlier in the program, that's out in the world. People truly are fed up with the way trade is working, business is working, government is working. We can see that not only here in the U.S. but all over the world. So I think that the status quo is going to be adjusted. That there's huge change that's just right around the corner. This, I think, an evolutionary tornado is right here, right now, and I think the world is so ready for conscious business. It's not part of the mainstream conversation today. I think it will be very soon. So that's exciting. We talked a little bit about this aspect of, is conscious business foo-foo? You know, is this a new age thing? Well, let me just say, wow, John and I and these people that were our special guests during the webinars last week, including, you know, Ken Wilber, Lance Secretan, Alan Watkins. This is not foo-foo or new age at all. This is there are so many tangible benefits to your employee base, where we turn the focus to presence, people, planet, and profit. There's so many tangible benefits to our clients or customers. There's so many tangible benefits to our stakeholder community, which is our suppliers, etc. When we bring this authenticity, this truth, this love, this connection, this heart space, and this head space to business, it's huge. You know, it's magical. There's a whole program that's part of our curriculum where we talk about two of the aspects of this. One, just starting a business that's based in oneness, and the other one, this culture of oneness, which is what we live in Humanities Team. It's the magic of Humanities Team. It's the glue. Where people can come together and really embody oneness together, and it's something more than just an intellectual framework, but it's really, you know, it is the embodiment of oneness. All of us, of course, to the best of our ability. It's magical. I think that's why we're able to do these magical things in Humanities Team. So I mentioned we went with my first company in Silicon Valley. We went from no revenue, no profit, two guys in a executive suite, to a $75 million company in 9 years with 175 employees. You know, that was we couldn't have done that as an unconscious company. That was all. That was conscious company results. So we have a lot more to say about this when we during the curriculum. So if you go through the training, we'll talk a lot more about this. But I want to just say to people, all of you that are planning to make conscious business your professional work, or it is already your professional work, there are huge rewards here, and it's not just business result rewards. It's a reward of just embodying spirit and being an expression of spirit, and just bringing transparency and truth and love to our work, and working with together with others that way. The peace and the beauty that we bring to our life when we do this is huge.
Thank you, Steve. It's Brandon. Let me jump in and ask a couple more questions here, because we've got about 5 or 6 questions as well. We should ask this poll. Why don't we launch the poll right now? If you guys are going to help us here, we're just going to send you a quick poll to learn more about who you are, to get a better understanding of our demographics. So just go ahead and answer that poll question. I see you guys are doing that. We'll give you a few seconds there. In the meantime, John and Steve, you can see in your chat window there's a few questions that have been asked. Can you see them? If not, I'll just go ahead and assign or just tell you. Here's a question from Nancy. In your experience with helping people change their businesses, have you run into cases in which people get personally shook up and find that changes in their businesses result in unexpected and perhaps unsettling changes in themselves?
Great question. Yeah, you know, I can start, and Steve, please jump in. You know, evolution, it's the nature of evolution that that it can be disruptive, that some of the old patterns that no longer serve us, both on a personal level, in a relationship, or in an organization, those patterns give way to something that's bigger and more evolutionary, more evolved. So that can happen, you know. And I know while I was at Intel, we were teaching the mindfulness program to many people, and we in mindfulness you talk about the backward step, that there can be this great opening that mindfulness can bring, but then you start to encounter these unconscious conditioned patterns, deeply held beliefs that that's what this evolution is about, is how do we face those, what some would call our shadow. How do we face those things and see through the illusion or the confusion that's contained in those patterns, so we move on. So that can be unsettling. It can feel quite wobbly for people at points. But it leads to beautiful growth and evolution.
Thank you, John. I'll just quickly share the. I'll just quickly share the poll results here, so you guys can see who's who. And
interesting. Wow.
Yeah, pretty good balance.
Yeah,
right.
Fantastic. Great, thank you, Brandon. Go ahead and bring in. I was just going to the tail end of what to that. Appreciated what John shared, and I was just adding to that I think we do learn a lot about ourselves as we step into this, but it's all goodness. The stories, and there's where we come together and share our personal stories, they're awesome. You know, I haven't met a single person that says, I wish I hadn't walked through that door of consciousness. Just the opposite. Our lives flower, we blossom, we come into the fullness of who we are, to use the CWG speak, this being the grandest version of the greatest vision we've ever had about ourselves. That's what we can step into when we step into this.
Awesome. Okay, here's a question that Rosalie's been wanting answered for a while. So if the founders of a business have genuine intentions to do good, then why is it that the organization almost inevitably becomes corrupted when it grows beyond the goodness threshold?
Oh gosh, let me just say, I'll take the first cut at that. I don't think that in conscious business, no, I don't think that will happen, where we go through a threshold and then things will change. I understand the person's perspective, because in I'll call it unconscious business, we've seen that happen where things get funny when the company really takes off and the founders become special and everybody else isn't special, or the CEO is special and everybody else isn't special. But in oneness, it doesn't work that way. In oneness, it's not a hierarchical thing. It's a beautiful thing where everything is spirit guided, and whether it's a virtual or physical circle where people are really bringing in their inspiration and people are feeling into it. And that's what continues. That's what oneness is. So that's one of the key benefits of conscious business is that we don't end up in that trap that maybe many of us have seen in unconscious business.
Yeah, I agree, Steve. I was just thinking as when I heard the question also of some of the conversations we've had creating the declaration and conversations we've had with Ken Wilber and his beautiful webinar last week. And that message of there's the waking up and then there's the growing up and then the showing up. That there's, if we just embrace these beautiful ideas but don't actually do the grow up part, which is a commitment. It's a commitment to, as we say in the declaration, to continue to evolve our awareness and our skills so that we personally grow and we can evolve our organizations. And that's a journey. It's not like a one-time thing. You sign the declaration, well, we all believe this, it's just magically going to happen. You have to embody this individually and in the organization, and many of the skills we share in the training are just about that. It's not just the wake up, I sign a declaration. It's you evolve to embody that declaration in the way your business operates, and you continue to do that. It's a journey.
Absolutely, yeah, and a journey in goodness. Well, we're almost at. We've just got 2 minutes left, so let me maybe put a close on this. I want to thank John. I want to thank you. Neil's not here with us. Huge thank you to Neale, Brandon Clayman, Garth Catterall. Thank you. All of you, our listeners, thank you for being here. And if you were part of all 5 webinars, awesome. And if you missed some, there are links to all of the 5 webinars up on our Humanities Team website if you go to the Conscious Business area on the website. I want to just share that over 3,500 registered for these Conscious Business webinars, and I want to thank everybody, all of the people that were involved in making this a huge priority. Our training and certification program for this Certified Conscious Business Agent program, CCBA, it does begin next Monday, May 2nd, and as we've shared, only 100 will be accepted as enrollments in that program. The price is $1,497. The regular price is $3,500. So if you think this might be something that's of interest to you, we encourage you to tune in today, maybe really sit with that, feel if you're called to go through this program. There is this full refund available for 2 weeks after the program starts if you change your mind for any reason. Also, many of the questions that have come in are from people who say, I've got a busy schedule, I'm not going to maybe be able to make all the live classes, and that's okay. We're set up with everything is archived, so you can, if you can't make the live programs, which we encourage, that you just listen to participate in the programs as your schedule is frees up to do that. So there'll be lots of students doing that coming in through the archive programs. With that, John, this is the end of our 5th webinar. So we're saying bye to everybody. Any goodbyes or calls to action here as we close?
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this, and I really look forward to meeting many of the listeners here who are going to join the training. So it'll be an amazing ride, and we're looking forward to it. And thanks, Steve, for doing amazing with all these excellent MC navigating us through these many topics. So big gratitude. Thanks.
Awesome. John and I are doing the opening class on Monday, May 2nd. We're going to be doing that together. So if you sign up, we'll see you then. Looking forward to starting this amazing program with this incredible faculty. Ken Wilber's program comes right behind ours, and then the rest of the faculty who are all excellent. So we'll see all of you that enroll on Monday. I think it's at 10 Pacific time that it launches. So we'll see you then. Have an amazing day. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks
really
all.
Good to be with you.
Thank you.